All right, picture this. I gotta bring the friends in. Hello, friends. Look, Kristen's back.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi, Dame.
hey Pete.
Visual reference to start the show. Dame, your lighting looks amazing today.
I literally changed nothing between this week and last week.
Kristen, your lighting's fine.
It needs some work, but I'm not changing anything because I'm moving. So
Last week, I am at a grocery store that I like to go to on Sundays, which just to say it that way makes me sound like an elderly gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go there on Sundays. And I like to just shop for a meal for the evening, and I make us a nice Sunday dinner. We've talked about this before. And I'm in a decent mood on this Sunday, decent mood. And I'm walking down this aisle, and there's this much older woman, probably late 80s to early 90s. And if I'm wrong about that,
she's not listening.
She can't hear. No, she's not listening. And she had these like snazzy glasses on. And so I said, I love your glasses. Just like, young, it could be your grandson. And she looks at me and she goes, are you some sort of pervert? And I was like, well, that's beside the point.
What's that got to do?
But what's that have to do with anything? I like your glasses. And probably, yes. Isn't that weird? Like, I thought I was like, I'm going to compliment this lady. And she looks at me and thinks, this guy's a pervert.
She's watched too many TikTok videos.
It's hilarious.
Yes. So what's going on? Dane, what's up with you?
What's not up with me? Dealing with kid stuff that we've got going on all the time. We got I think I told you, never been happier to have health insurance. My son has a partial tear of his MCL, which is great, especially in track season. He ran one track event last year and ran 0 meets this year. That's how determined he is to skip track season. Just hurts himself.
I don't know, Kristen. I am no track expert, but it might be time to stick to the pool.
Maybe the impact sports aren't so good for our friend TD.
Yeah.
Kristen's slightly under the weather this week and in the midst of a move and redoing a house. How's your life, Kristen?
It's good. It's good. I was thinking about, and I'm no longer the owner of a bunch of 70s wallpaper, but that's not entirely true because it's still in my front yard. I have a 15-yard dumpster full of wallpaper and carpet and flooring, but it's moving along.
Nice. Kristen was telling us before the show that she was walking her property, which is, if I walked my property, it's a stride and a half, it like very, very low lot size. I don't know how you say that. Anyway, Kristen, you're walking your property and you said, I was afraid of snakes because I was wearing shorts. And Dame, my first thought is like, what? Because I'd be afraid of snakes whether I was wearing shorts or pants. But Kristen's take was she just didn't want it to touch her. It wasn't about biting her. And that's how I know that she and I are different people.
Yeah, if you're scared of bites, you wear longer boots, higher boots, and so you try and protect your ankles and lower legs from snake bites. And jeans are great; they help a little bit for some of the snakes we got around here. But if you just don't want the slithery things touching you, then yeah.
Kristen, how many snakes have you seen on your property?
I haven't seen one yet.
Okay, Dame, you see them all the time on yours, I assume.
I haven't seen any this year. It had been kind of cool up until recently, but I would expect seeing them any day.
Wow. The president of the United States at the Easter egg roll this week was questioned by the press corps. It was there with him, and he did have some comments on the lawn of the White House that I wanted to share with you guys.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Okay.
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
Well, let's hear that again.
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
Oh,
man,
loves the podcast.
He got he's a subscriber. Who knew?
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
I mean, that is all week long. I've just been playing that. I'm like, man, he loves navigating now.
Comcast.
He loves it.
maybe that's what helps dial him back, and saying maybe we're going to take a breather on these tariffs. Maybe I won't fire J-Pow. Maybe he's listening to you.
Kristen, did the sound get weird there?
Mhm.
What is that?
It's you.
Is it me?
I don't know.
It's fine now.
Yeah, it's fine now.
It's not like you got in an airlock. Okay, let's do a show. Kristen, you ready to do a show?
I suppose.
Are you sure?
I mean, I am. I'm just don't make me laugh too much because if I start laughing, then I start coughing. It's like a whole deal.
Well,
Can
don't
you
have to worry
guys
about laughing today.
Can you guys keep your health going? I mean,
I'm sorry.
one of you sick, and the other one's sick. Quit
Seems a lot.
sharing milkshakes.
I'm still coughing.
Thank goodness I'm physically fit.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
one of us has to be.
Exactly.
All right, so let's set up the timer here. The show today, it's about how passive aggressive our stupid economy is. So that's what we're doing. And we got a radio.
Hearing this robin just absolutely throw itself into my window at all.
No. What?
It is like a kamikaze right now. It's just absolutely ramming at full speed and bouncing off and shaking it off, catching its breath and coming back. So if you hear something, I apologize.
Robin Givens? Or
No, probably not Robin Givens.
remember Robin Givens' heyday?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah. Kristen?
No.
Kristen, okay, I'm going to give you.
Come on.
Okay, I'm going to name 4 Robins, and I want you to tell me if you can identify any of the Robins. Okay, you ready? Robin Givens, what can you tell me about that person?
I can tell you nothing about Robin Givens.
Okay, Robin Quivers.
Cool.
No.
Okay. I'll go with Robin Williams.
Flubber.
All the movies.
I know who that is.
Oh, that's great.
Flubber.
I loved that movie.
Damn, that's in my.
That movie is how you know I'm an empath. I felt bad for Flubber.
It's absolutely in his IMDb. I would not have remembered that he was in Flubber.
I'm blown away. That would have been like not in my top 200 Robin Williams movies.
Next.
Robin Yount?
Oh, holy smokes.
No. Okay, so not a big Robin person.
Not apparently.
All right, we'll Google him later. Okay, let's do this show in 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. Email us at askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what may happen. We may answer your question on the air. In fact, friends, hello, Kristen.
Hello, Pete.
Dame.
Pete.
We've got a really good email question in the inbox right now, but we're ignoring it because I've noticed recently that while inflation has certainly subsided, and it's actually in a pretty reasonable place right now, I still feel like it's really hard to stretch your dollar. And it makes me feel like everything around us is passive aggressive towards our money. And so what the show today is like, why you don't actually feel like you have as much money as you have, even though inflation's gone down. Because Kristen, the last couple of years, inflation itself is what made us feel broke, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But now that is gone and it's turned into other things. I'll give you a couple of examples. And I know we're going to spend the show on this here. The first one that we all we've laughed about before and we talk about is like the tipping gauntlet. Like everything gets a tip. Everyone gets a tip. Hairstylists and baristas and everyone gets tips. And so where you go and you're like, I'm going to buy a $3 something, it's instantly $5 because of this or that. Dame, again, you live not exactly in a metropolitan area.
Correct.
Is the tip gauntlet as severe in that part of the world?
It's certainly noticeable. I don't know if it's as permeating as it is in bigger cities, but you always are asked to tip at the places you would expect to be asked to tip. But once you start getting into some of those marginal transactions, it's not as much as you would think or as you experience when you get to a bigger metropolitan area.
Kristen, do you fall for the tip stuff?
I have a pretty firm stance on tipping. I think tipping culture is kind of out of control. And so there are certain things that I will and won't tip for, and you're not going to turn the iPad around and guilt me into tipping.
Okay.
I hope they're wearing pants so they don't get snake bit if you're
I'm just saying it's out of control.
Yeah. So again, we'll talk through these, but I'll sort of list them for a second. So these are the things that make me feel as though I'm spending money so much faster than I intended to. So there's the tip gauntlet, right? Tip culture. Service fees, like paying a bill online has a fee. It's like the BMV in Indiana. If you pay online, it's like it's your only option, but you have to pay the fee to pay. And it's like, that adds up. Like you have to pay a service fee. And it's like, well, why?
Yeah, I think you can give them your checking account information if you feel like you want to do that, which I don't know why you would, to save a couple bucks. Okay, I get it, but I don't know if I just want to put that money out there into even a trusted institution like the Indiana BMV.
Yeah, Kristen, when I think about that, service fees, at some point in time, you buy a lot of tickets for concerts and stuff. I got to imagine those fees just kill you.
Those fees are out of control. And the thing that really gets me with them is you can never know what you can expect to pay in a fee when you start a transaction. It's always a surprise. It's not like, oh, well, I can expect the ticket fee to be, $15 or whatever. I feel like it's never consistent. And so I'll go in and then it's like the total is always the subtotal and then the total are always a surprise to me.
Yeah. And again, in our live chat here, a regular viewer / listener, Danza, notes, it's like, I said I'm walking my bills to the remittance location personally. It's like, the weird thing is there is a convenience to all the things we're going to talk about today.
Sure.
But literally every one of these conveniences comes with an expense. Dame, how about this classic, you get a free trial on like a streaming app or a service or something like that, and they'll give you the reminder email that your trial is almost over, but then they make it virtually impossible to find the cancellation button. Have you been through that one?
Yeah, sure. And in fact, there's a well-known news publication that used to make it almost impossible to unsubscribe from their service, whether it was online or delivered to your home. And they caught a lot of flack for it over the years. It's changed significantly in the last few years, but it was I would have been embarrassed if I would have been that organization on how bad it was. What a bad customer experience it was.
Let's name names. Who was it?
Wall Street Journal.
Oh, well, I've told you before, I've tried to sign up for the Wall Street Journal numerous times and I can't do it.
You're just not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
Take my money. They're like, no. We're trying to keep Damien's money.
Yeah.
Shrinkflation is another classic example of how we're parted with our money in a different way. You're sort of made to feel broke, is that, we're going to keep the price the same, but we're going to lower the quantity, therefore increase the price per ounce of whatever it is. Again, in combination with tip culture, in combination with service fees, in combination with trying to chase away a free trial. Before you know it, you're so frustrated as a consumer that you didn't have any of these feelings 30 years ago. No, I mean, Kristen wasn't even around. You didn't have any of these feelings 30 years ago.
Yeah,
that's fair. Is there an item at the grocery store that the two of you have noticed shrinkflation?
It's a good question.
Because I can think of the reason I ask is because there is one that comes to mind that I have noticed that really grinds my gears. I'm just curious if I'm just I need to calm down, or if the two of you know too.
I mean, bags of chips have always been an issue, but now it's even less than it was before. But that's the one that it jumps out to me.
Same. What do you got?
bacon.
Oh yeah, it used to be a pound of bacon. Now it's
You don't
12
buy a
ounces
pound
of
of
bacon.
bacon. Exactly. And it's like, oh, this price doesn't seem that bad. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm only getting 75% of the product. This price is awful.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, but I've never actually put it into words. And then there's the other angle here too, is how frictionless spending has become. Whether it's buy now, pay later on things like groceries, or you look at making purchases with Apple Pay, and you make purchases with an app at a particular store, and that's your payment method. Or we've all been, well, some of us have been to those places. They're usually run by Amazon, where like there's one in Cincinnati at the FC Cincinnati soccer stadium, where you walk in to this space through this gate, you scan in, you grab whatever snacks you want, and you just walk out, and it charges you based on what you've picked up and walked out with. This frictionlessness parts us with our money in a really passive aggressive way. So again, the economy can be perfectly fine, whether it is or is not right now. I'm sure we probably have some fun with. But there's so many ways that you're made to feel broke with just sort of marketing and consumerism today. It's sort of a wild idea.
I'm really torn on that Amazon concept where you walk in, pick up, and walk out. Because if there's a mental disconnect with using a credit card on spending, it's got to just get absolutely out of hand without having to do anything. Just go in, basically treat it like it's your pantry, and walk out.
Kristen, I know that Dame and I have been adults longer than you have by the nature of how age and time work.
Right.
I'm telling you, as adults, Dame and I, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it did not feel like this at all.
No.
Love
It
it.
is so easy to spend money now.
It is.
It is with that we take a break. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to explore the passive aggressive economy today. Why you feel broke all the time by design. That's right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner.
You were making me nervous. I thought you were going to blow past the segment.
Who, me or him?
Pete, he like started a whole nother like line at 9 minutes.
Well, look, I do. I'm living dangerously.
Did you not hear what the president had to say about him? He's a professional.
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
Yeah.
We have our coworker, Molly. Dame and Kristen are both Molly's team. And so the president had this to say about her.
Everybody was talking about Molly. Beautiful, wonderful, incredible.
That's our Molly.
That's so good.
I started thinking, because I've been killing time by finding people I know's names the president has talked about. Do you know why so many of these clips exist? Because he loves to, we'll go with weave, ramble, talk, whatever, about a person and say nothing, respectfully, and he'll call them by their first name.
Right.
In like a really good technique of like familiarity. It's sort of smart and warm. But if you ever listen to him speak, like he'll just go on about a name. You know, when you go to a gift shop and they got like license plates of all the kids' names, you could actually pull audio clips of the president literally talking about everyone's name and saying something superlative about it. You know,
There's got to be a generator out there for this exact thing.
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
I had to edit that because there was all sorts of kids screaming in the background with the Easter egg roll, and so I edited out the kids screaming. It's actually I don't think I could play it quickly, but it sounds a little different. Anyway, that's what I did this week.
Seems productive.
So, yeah, sounds great.
Sound productive. All right, Kristen, are you driving what's you next here?
Yeah, I got an example for you guys of like fee and tip culture that's out of control.
All right.
I didn't expect me to be the old man about this, but I feel like I have the strongest opinion about this of the three of us, really.
Robert makes a really good point. Me claiming the praise of the Secretary of Defense is arguably stolen valor.
Eh.
Yeah.
Is it I don't know. I mean, that's not your worst offense. So
No, it really isn't.
No.
Because I think this is interesting. Don't file this under criticism, but I want to file this under holy moly. So there's a big story in the New York Times today about how much Pete Hegseth's phone number is out in the world, his personal phone.
yeah.
And it's because when he came into office, he just started doing work as SecDef on his phone, right? Instead of getting a new phone or whatever. So again, I'll let other people criticize that, but the reporting's fascinating. He is on a gambling site. His phone number on August 15th of 2024, just so a few months ago, he used his personal phone number to join sleeper.com, a fantasy football and sports betting site, using the username, all one word, Pete Hegseth. And so that's the same phone number that the Signal chats are on. Like, that's the same thing.
But if his phone number's out there and about, isn't it very possible that people could be setting these accounts up and then just making it, putting his name on it?
It's from August.
It's
Oh,
yes, Dame. It is possible that people are grabbing his phone number and using his username, but Occam's razor would suggest that the simpler explanation, which is he signed up for his own stuff because he didn't think he was going to be the Secretary of Defense, is probably the more likely example. Again, I just think it's fascinating.
I don't know.
You think the more likely example is that? Well, I won't put words in your mouth. You think there's I'm putting words in your mouth again.
I think it's very feasible that somebody, if his phone number is out and about and well known, somebody grabbed it and put his name on the account and said, haha, look at that.
But the point is,
August.
the point is, if your number is out there on your phone number, on your phone's phone number is out there, don't use it for national security stuff.
Exactly.
Right? That's the point, I would think. No one trusts me to keep any secrets. And I should not lead a fighting force unless it's like a team of ticklers, I'm a tickle fighter. Kristen, your look on your face?
Oh my.
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
Alert, alert.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Kristen, we're talking the passive aggressive economy this week. While the inflation is under control, the inflation is under control to some degree for right now. Things have sort of stabilized. People are a little scared about the immediate future economy, but like right now, our personal economies are kind of okay. Yet it feels like it's so much easier to spend money and be parted with your money than it is ever before. And you mentioned that you have a real life example of this for you.
I do. So those who are new to the show or maybe haven't listened in a few weeks, my person and I, we purchased a new house. And despite the fact that this house is even more isolated from civilization than the house we live in now, it's still closer to true civilization. So we have delivery options at this house, gentlemen. This has never happened to me before.
Wow.
Okay. So my mom's there last night helping me, and she's like, I'm really hungry. And my mom's put in a lot of work at the new house. And I'm like, what do you want? And she's like, I could really go for some Chipotle. So just like as a little experiment, I'm curious, we can do this a few different ways, but just like off the top, do you guys want to guess the price difference between going to Chipotle to pick up the order as a percentage and getting it delivered to my home?
Okay. I'm going to let Dame guess first because
Pete does this all the time and he knows.
No, I have done it. Like if we're away from the house and the kids are there and food, whatever. Yeah.
I will go with 50% more. to have it delivered to your house versus picking it up yourself?
Peak.
Yeah, my guess was 35%.
It was double. And what was really sneaky about that is that it wasn't just the delivery fee itself, which actually wasn't even that bad. The delivery fee was $1.49 through the
Okay.
platform. I'm like, what's $1.50 to get Chipotle delivered versus having to get it from me? The prices weren't the same of the actual food.
Did you use DoorDash or Grubhub? What were you using?
It was DoorDash.
Yeah, they changed the menu prices. You know, what's interesting, so on there, were you toggling between pickup and delivery even on there?
Yeah, and then I like compared that against the Chipotle just website because it's like 3 different prices. So a bowl, the difference in the price of a bowl to get it delivered was $11.90. To pick it up was $9.15. Which is like
Just for the bowl.
Yeah, it's like $2. It's like, but that's the problem is like the $2 for the bowl, the $2 for the chips and guac, the $2 for the delivery fee, and then all your other fees are percentage-based fees. So they've increased your subtotal of your Chipotle order to then suggest that you tip 25% on top of their service fee that was like 20%, I think.
Yeah, because there's a service fee that's in there that's not the delivery fee.
Exactly.
It's substantial.
The taxes and fees, which they lump them together to make it seem like it's the man's fault and not their fault. The taxes and fees were $4.52 on a subtotal of $17.
So 25% ish of taxes and fees. And so the taxes in your area are going to be what, 7 or 8%?
I think 7. Yeah.
7. And so then 18% service charge.
And then they recommended a 25% tip calculated based on that new total. So the grand total difference in the 2 bowls, if I went to pick it up myself, the chips and guac in the bowl was $14.77. If I had it delivered, it was $29.95.
Dame, how do you think about this? Because I don't think you probably, based on where you live, you probably don't have a lot of food delivered.
No, it's too convenient just to go grab it and pick it up and come back, and I'm too cheap to pay for that kind of service. So yeah, we just go and pick it up. But you know, when we're on swim weekends, I mean, occasionally you'll have stuff delivered if we're splitting a house with a couple different families. You know, just have some stuff brought, and so you don't have to make trips to the grocery or restaurant, whatever it is. So you got a few minutes to just relax, actually. But no, we're not too terribly impacted by this. Now, I will say when we went to a swimming event not that long ago and our daughter decided to stay home, she familiarized herself with DoorDash quite a bit and had some crazy deliveries. I think she actually tried to have coffee delivered from a different county at one point, which would have been really, really interesting to see that charge. But
you know what occurs to me with this, Dame, is that, okay, 100% difference is crazy. Can we all agree that that's insane?
Yes.
Okay. So we're having this discussion. We all agree it's insane, but it is also relatively a common idea here in 2025. Like it is something that in a jam you would do, or we've all somehow done it.
Sure.
But even 50% more is crazy. And it's like, is 20% more unjustified? And you start to work your way down and you say, what actually makes logical sense here? And I know the concept that we're dancing around is actually convenience in this example. But at what point in time do you have to look at it from a percentage standpoint and not, oh, it's $5? Like, and it's not because we're budgeting with envelopes and we're only eating legumes. It's like at some point in time, this is the issue we're talking about in the passive aggressive economy, is that it seems like every time you go to have commerce, there's a version of this conundrum within the transaction. And we're just talking about delivery, but whether you're in person and it's the tip thing, or it's buy now, pay later at McDonald's. It's there's always some additional way to add dollars to your purchase.
And I feel like it's intentionally complicated so they can bury other things in there and make it a little bit more expensive and just wrap it in, like Kristen said, so it makes it feel like it's not their fault. It's just part of the process. Whereas if it was something as simple as a flat fee for certain things, you can make your decision based on whatever, it doesn't cost the driver or the delivery person anymore to deliver a coffee or a coffee and 3 muffins. That should be a flat fee to get that food out of whatever your order is out to your location at that point. Having percentages, delivery fees based on percentages, just doesn't make any sense to me.
Dame, you have just like opened up Pandora's box, because that's how I feel about a lot of tipping in general. Is like,
oh, here we go.
I think in a lot of instances, it makes more sense for me to pay based on like number of trips you've made to serve me, or to your point, like, does it really matter if I ordered Chipotle for my whole house or if I ordered Chipotle for just my mom? Like, the person that I'm tipping in this instance, the driver, did the same service regardless of how much food they picked up. Maybe they picked up 1 bag instead of 2 or whatever, but that service that I'm paying for is the same regardless of if I had 5 bowls or 1.
We are really getting to the nature and the spirit of what I was hoping to get to today, which is how passive aggressive this all is. Damon, it doesn't stop at servers.
No.
Realtors, financial advisors. If you measure your time to do a service, what does the magnitude of the stakes, how does that impact it? And that's the passive aggressiveness. We're all oh yeah, but managing $1 million is a lot harder than managing $10,000. No, it's not. It quite literally is not at all, other than taxes. Dame, you were going to say something before I cut you off. Oh, no, you weren't, because we're going to a break. Yeah. That's right. Coming up after the break, Dame has a quiz for us. Dame's data-driven debrief. That's next here on the Pete the Planner show. I almost did blow by that one, Chris.
10.
Got excited.
Your dog keeps walking in the background.
I know, he's really antsy. I don't know what his deal is. Now he's just like staring at me. I don't know.
Is he moving with you? You guys leaving him there?
Oh, God. That's so awful to even joke about.
Can he hear me right now?
No.
I was going to tell him you guys are leaving him there just to see what he would do.
He's not smart enough to understand what that means.
I'm not sure my kids are smart enough to understand what that means.
He's not very bright.
Dame, I got can we have grill talk real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Kristen, you grill talk?
At first I thought you said girl talk, and I was like, is that funny because you're excluding me intentionally? Go ahead. Girl talk.
Okay, so listen.
Grill talk. I bought an insert for my grill that just makes the whole thing a griddle.
Yeah.
So it's basically a Blackstone.
Nice.
I'm obsessed.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I have tried to see what options are out there, and I haven't really gotten all the measurements to see if I could find one that would fit my setup, but I'm really interested in getting something like that.
I've wanted one for a long time, like a griddle, a flat top of some sort, but I didn't want a whole other rig. I just didn't. And so then I figured this out, and it's not perfect, because it fits perfectly, but it's an ounce inconvenient, but it's amazing and I love it. Kristen, are you guys a Blackstone crew?
We have a Traeger.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
It is. And honestly, I would prefer to just go back to just
shots fired.
Propane on a gas grill. Like, wow. I don't need the Traeger, to be honest.
Dame, you have your grill tied into a natural gas line?
I do.
Yeah, so do I. It's the best.
That's great.
I just leave it on for days.
Who cares?
Yeah, no, I frack in my yard. I don't know exactly what that means.
Have
I
you,
kind of, yeah.
have you done smash burgers on that? That
First
grill?
thing I did.
Oh,
I mean, I'll tell you, thanks to Reels or TikTok or whatever people are doing, I've seen so many videos on how to do smash burgers that they were perfect the first time I did them.
nice.
Yeah.
But they also seem like one of those foods you really can't mess up. You just smash a burger.
Yeah.
I feel like griddles are great for like brunch. I feel like I see people doing their brunches on the griddle.
I'm doing a big breakfast tomorrow, I think. But see, I wanted to do pancakes, of course, right? Because who doesn't want to do pancakes on a grill? But then I felt bad because I'm trying to be physically fit, so I bought the Kodiak protein pancakes,
Protein.
which I could have just made pancakes and put protein powder. But guys, I'm an idiot. I don't know if this is
Or you
either.
could have just made regular pancakes and just started your breakfast with like a protein shake and then just like ate what you want.
You just take a protein shake and eat what you want.
I'm just saying.
Thanks for the invite, by the way.
Well, Dame, you're welcome to come over. I get up early, so if I woke up, let's say on a Saturday, 5:45, whatever,
Mhm.
and you're in my house, be amazing. We can hang out.
I've never stepped foot in your house. I don't even think I was allowed on your porch the one time I stopped by.
We're allowed on my porch. You just didn't come on my porch.
Well, I had to ring the doorbell to let you know that there was. No, I didn't even ring the
Okay.
doorbell. I was gonna set the bottle. I mean, whatever I was leaving there for you, and just sneak away.
Was that COVID times?
Yeah,
Yeah. So we couldn't. We didn't know.
we had to be separated anyway.
Oh. I've not spent any time recently really thinking back to the habits you formed during those times of like distancing or your groups you hung out with, like, and going back and truly questioning, like, was that actually all stupid? Like, was it all, I'm sure some of it you can just, let's just say half of it was just dumb. You guys have mocked me before for taping my pant legs when I went to CVS.
Mhm.
But half of it's real dumb, right? And then the other half is either also still dumb or maybe some of it helped.
I mean,
don't know.
I think the thorough hand washing the kick that you got on for a while, it's great. I nothing wrong with that, but there were some things that were kind of like, I think Pete's losing it, folks. I don't know what we're gonna do
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
now.
But like we would wipe down our groceries. I remember we would get like cereal boxes. We would take disinfectant wipes, wipe down the cardboard of the cereal box, and then pull out the inner bag and then set the inner bag in the pantry. And I was just like, I have a partner in this, by the way, so I can't say that these are all of my decisions. I was just like, can I just die? Like I don't know what's happening, because none of that was mattered, right?
Nope.
And I don't want to get. I open all these can of worms myself. I don't want to get into the mask thing, because then that's a whole thing too, because that became like a social thing. But then on some level, I'm like, man, this is a really not fine cotton mask. It was literally had a Pacers mask, and it was just like, Pacer, go Pacers in my face, and I'm just breathing droplets right through it because it was cotton,
kind of porous.
I think we can all agree that societally some hygiene refresh, like the washing your hands, or like you should probably wipe down the shopping cart. Like you'd probably be disgusted if they put those germs in a petri dish, or like some of those things were probably good refreshers and good practice for us, just like collectively.
The hand washing and keeping your hands away from your mouth takes care of that, though.
But people don't do that.
Well, we've talked men's restroom on this show.
Yeah.
Right.
At least 30-40% of those dudes just like do the biz and roll out. Like there's no cleanliness there. I will say, even knowing that, and I'm a bit of a germaphobe, not crazy, but a bit, I don't wipe down the cart handle at the grocery store.
Gross.
But I do hand sanitize right when I get in the car.
Well, that's fair.
it's all like it's almost like theater. The
Yeah,
whole thing,
yeah.
right? It's like security theater. What do they call it? That is that something like
TSA.
that? TSA. We're really with this topic, Kristen. We have really rolled into Dame's wheelhouse. Look at him; he's perked up.
Yeah, he's
ready to go
having a
for
great morning.
Like he was uncomfortable a bit with Pete Hegseth really did put his phone numbers out there, and Dame was like, no, someone else did it. And he was like, oh no. And then we get to this, he's like, masks are stupid. And Dame's like, yeah, so we did it.
I'm back. I'm
Dame
comfortable.
made it.
I'm comfortable again.
Gosh. Look, I'm just willing to share how I feel about it. I felt like by wearing a mask, I was actually helping in some way. Like it made me feel like I was doing everything I could to help in the moment. Whether it helped or not, I don't know. But boy, it made me feel like I was helping.
Yeah.
Dean would argue this was by design and control. I don't necessarily feel that way, but I did feel like I was helping.
Wow, that's all that matters, Pete.
See, there's the Dame we love. Look at him. It's so fun. Okay. Where are we? Oh, Dame's data-driven.
Yeah, I got a quiz for you. Yeah.
I'm nervous.
In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, talking the passive-aggressive economy. How is it that in today's world, where right now, in the moment, the economy might be headed for a rocky place, maybe it's not, but literally right now, like right now, like in this moment, if you go, everything's kind of okay. Inflation's okay. Unemployment rate's okay. Everything's okay right now. But your money just flies out. And sometimes it's consumer habits. Sometimes it's the entire apparatus around consumerism. Fees, tips, buy now, pay later, all these different things. Dame, you dug deep this week into some data. And what did you find for us?
It makes it feel like I don't do my job on a regular weekly basis, the way you phrased that. Kind of.
This is your job.
The Wall Street Journal, aforementioned Wall Street Journal, had a quiz just this week on tipping culture. And I am going to go through this quiz. And I want to get your opinions on how you view certain scenarios. How much do you tip? Do you tip at all? And let's see where we fall. See if we can come to agreement or if we have some different opinions on these. So the first scenario, you get 2 cappuccinos to go along with a muffin. 2 cappuccinos along with a muffin. Your options are no tip, 15%, 20%, or 25%.
Kristen, do you want to go first? Here, before we get going, you and I are going to be on 2 different sides of a coin here. We realize this, right?
So should we say our answer and then justify it? Because I have what I think is a really good explanation, but I'll just say I'm not tipping.
Yeah, each of you do answers first, and then we go from there.
2 cappuccinos and a muffin
To go.
Oh man.
Shouldn't be this hard, Pete.
What my choices are: nothing, 15,
0, 15, 20, or 25.
I'd probably give a couple bucks. I'd give
Okay,
$2.
that wasn't an option. Thanks for playing along. But
Okay, I'd give $2.
it was 0, 15%, whatever. All right.
What would you do?
No tip.
Okay.
Let me justify this.
Please do.
There's 2 rules for me.
Hmm.
Did I have to stand in order? And did I have to pay before I got my food? If both of those things were true, I didn't tip. The exception to that rule is I do have a semi-regular coffee shop, and those girls are wonderful. And I do tip when I go there. But like for the most part, no.
Okay. So we can mix this up a bit here. What's weird is if this was like Monon Coffee Company in Broad Ripple. So for those non-Indianapolis people, sort of a small little area, and it's a local business, I would tip. If I'm at Starbucks, I probably won't.
Ooh.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next scenario. You have a sit-down meal at a restaurant with a bottle of wine. No tip, 15%, 20 or 25.
25.
Peter Dunn?
20. And the reason I would do 20 over 25 is I don't want to pay an extra tip because the wine drives the price up so much on the bill that it's unproportionate to the work done. So I'd go 20% if it's a bottle of wine, or unless we're placed, to Kristen's point, you go all the time, you know the server, you're probably doing 25.
I think that's fair. I would be somewhere between 20 and 25 for very similar reasons, probably leaning towards 25.
That's interesting. So you guys do take alcohol into consider all alcohol, or are you saying because a bottle of wine is more expensive, that's when you would consider it? Or is it the alcohol versus the food?
If it's just for me, if it's just like Mrs. Weiss and I each have a drink, I don't really factor that in. It's just part of the meal at that point. But if you get a bottle, just so overpriced in those situations that it's not equivalent to, in my opinion, for the amount of services provided. So I might back it off a little bit, but 25% I've got no issues with.
Yeah, let's do round numbers, and feel free to judge me for these round numbers. Let's say you go to dinner and you get $100 bottle of wine, okay, and then you tip on that 25%. It's now a $125 bottle of wine, and if it were a bottle of tap water that they filled into the old wine bottles, they would bring it over to you just the same and set it on the table. And that's a $125 difference in my estimation. So that's why if I'm buying wine, I tend to go closer to 20%.
Now, if you've had 2 bottles of wine, does this all go out the window and you're probably just getting generous anyway and tipping whatever you want at that point?
Well, I'd have to tip the paramedics to drag me out of that place.
All right. Next scenario. You have a sit-down meal at a nice restaurant, but the service is bad.
Like how bad?
How much wine have I had?
The image they had was a tipped over glass of wine with it just spilling everywhere. So it was pretty bad.
I'm still 20%.
Absolutely not.
I knew this is where we were going to disagree.
All right. Let's hear it.
I'm not. I mean, I don't know for sure what percent. It totally depends on like how poor the quality of service is. And that's something too, is you have to make sure that it's not, that it's truly the server's fault. Like sometimes service is bad, but they don't have any control over it. Like the kitchen might be backed up or something. Yeah. But if like it is clear that it is server issue, I am not afraid to not tip. Like not at all, but I mean like much lower.
You know what I'll do is, let's say it's $85. I'll double the 8 instead of rounding the 85 up to 90 and doubling the 9 on a 20% tip. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
So it'll be a $16 instead of $18 when it should really be $17 at 85.
For bad service?
Yeah. I don't... Dame, what would you do?
Probably do like 10-ish%.
10.
Yeah.
I was thinking like 10 to 15, but that's so rare. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I count the number of times on one hand I've probably done that. And I've always gotten grief from it, from Mrs. Weiss when I do it.
Dame, can you be as honest as you're willing to be with us right now?
Of course.
Have you ever, instead of leaving gratuity, you left a message written in the tip section that said something to the effect of, write down my order next time, or something like that? Something pithy?
Third horse, fourth race at the Downs. That's your tip? Third horse, fourth race at the Downs.
Oh, I didn't get the reference there. Man, is that what it feels like when my jokes fall flat? Like,
yes. Yeah.
oh.
I've seen somebody do that, actually. It wasn't me. I've seen somebody do that.
You were in the dinner party?
Yes.
That's uncomfortable.
Yes.
I've never done
I
that.
left money on the table.
Yeah.
I've done that before too.
Yeah.
You've written third horse in the fourth post? Or...
No, I've tipped to compensate for like if I'm in a big group and I'm like peeking around to see what other people tip, to make sure that a server is compensated appropriately, then I will like go back after the fact and like put cash on the table or tip more on mine to compensate for someone who didn't.
Dame, do you have more for us?
I have one more. And we got to hit it because we've talked about this. You have a sit-down meal at a restaurant, and the bill includes a credit card charge.
I hate that.
We've talked about that?
We just talked about. We alluded to it in the last segment a little bit.
I don't think I've ever at least noticed that.
Really?
I've never looked for that.
I think that's a small town thing that there's a cash
Maybe.
card price.
Wow, I didn't know this.
That happens a lot of places that I go is if you pay with cash, here's your price. If you pay with card, here's your price.
Look at us learning. So the question was, do you tip?
No tip, 15, 20, 25.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Oh, there it is.
Do you guys take tax out before you tip?
No, I tip on the full amount.
Yeah.
I think so.
Coming up after the break, biggest waste of money of the week in the news. I'm Pete the Planner. I always feel like I should take tax out because why am I tipping them
Right. Sure.
on the taxes I pay for the new local sports stadium? You know,
I think it's a totally reasonable
So
approach, but I'm just too lazy to go a couple lines up and look at the total of the food.
so that Visa can get more money.
when there's an 18% required gratuity because you have a party or 6 or more,
I
how
hate
do you
that.
handle tipping beyond that?
That's such a frustrating thing for me. But usually I throw something on there that gets to the amount that I would want them to be tipped anyway. I just do some quick math and make it happen.
Same. And then I don't go back to that restaurant.
Kristen, I want you to think about this for a second. I'm asking you a really hard question. I'm going to put you in a difficult spot here.
Careful, my brain's fragile.
Okay. Who walks around more peed off? Why did I didn't want to say pissed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kids listen. We can let our kids say that. Anyway, who walks around more angry at daily things that are happening to them and around them? Me or Dame?
Dang.
Okay. I agree with that. Dame, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I got no problem. It's probably true. It's probably right.
But I think the difference is that Dame is maybe a little more like me, where like something kind of like flares your temper, but then you're kind of over it. I think that when things then do, what did you say? Pee you off?
Yeah, that's almost worse.
I think when they do, I think that they sit with you longer when you get to that threshold.
That is so
I
true.
think that's the difference.
That is so accurate.
Can I make an announcement?
Oh Lord. Kristen, what is about to happen here?
I'm scared.
I
didn't know we were doing announcements this week.
last week we had a Boam that we were really interested in.
Okay.
You bought it.
The dinosaur bottle opener.
Now look at this packaging. I'm about to show you one of the absolute best parts of this whole thing.
Our first unboxing on the show.
Lift it high. Oh, it's busting out of the side.
Yeah. It is
It's kinda neat.
great packaging. All right, here we go.
Oh my gosh. If you are not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, so go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. What is it? YouTube.com/Pete the Planner. YouTube. Hey, I was thinking about on our Spotify feed, just like given the option to watch the video or audio within Spotify. Would people like that? I have to figure it out, but I think,
It's kind of cool.
is it substantial? Is it heavy?
Yeah.
Could
you
you set it on could you
Sure.
one-hand it?
Can I what?
Can you set it on a desk and then open a bottle without holding the back of the dyno, do you think?
If I one hand on the bottle and one hand on the dyno like this, yeah, you could do that.
No. It's
set
on the
it-
desk
set it
alone.
No, it rocks too much. You would have to. It's a two-handed operation for this.
Dame, hold that up to as close to the camera as you can. It's cast iron. Oh my god! Rah. Hold on. Look. Hold
It's so great.
on.
It's an absolute waste of money, and it's wonderful.
How much was it? It was cheap, right?
$40.
I mean, man, I don't have that sort of money.
Absolute waste of money. Maybe this little thing will find its way down to your office, and you can enjoy it for a while too.
If Dame's gonna talk about spending $40 frivolously like that, then at least I have to tell him myself a little bit. So when my son and I go out of town for soccer tournaments, we've just made it a little bit of a tradition. We'll go and like have a steak, the night before a game. It's just like, it's fun. I like it's like a nice father-son thing. Hopefully someday he'll look back on like, I used to go when my dad was bald. We used to go have beef or something like that. And so we're at the house last night and we haven't had a soccer trip in a few weeks. And he looks at me, he's like, man, you and I haven't been to a steakhouse in a couple of weeks. I was like, oh man, that was okay. That felt bad. that felt like now he expects to always eat. Like, I think I may have backfired there.
When we take our kids out to eat somewhere, if there's steak on the menu, my daughter is ordering it. That's just
For
her.
her.
If there's two sizes of a fillet, was she allowed to have the bigger one? Will she get the bigger one, or is
I mean, she can if she wants, because there's she needs a lot of iron in her diet, and that's one of the compromises we're happy to make, is if she finds food that she likes and is good for her, then great, go for it. But she doesn't always. She'll often order the smaller of the two.
We done with announcements this week, Dame? You're good.
Yeah, I just wanted to put a little fear in you at that point to make that announcement. So
Okay, great. Chris, you're good.
I'm good.
All right. Let's do Guam. You guys ready? I gotta get ready.
what am I buying this week?
We'll see. Actually, we'll see. This is an interesting one. All right, 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner Show, is the Serene Cleaver keyboard. Serene Industries' first keyboard, the Icebreaker, was a brutalist, oversized wedge of aluminum. Their follow-up, the Cleaver, has the same DNA, but in a drastically slimmed-down form factor. Thanks to an overmolded silicone core that acts as non-slip feet, protects the electronics, and improves the sound signature, it packs full-height Hall effect switches, yet feels like a low-profile keyboard. The chassis is machined from a block of 6061 aluminum, as are the keycaps, which have 1,204 tiny perforations to allow the LED backlighting to shine through. It's available in a clear or black finish for Windows or Mac and is machined, molded, and assembled right here in these United States.
America.
No tariffs.
Kristen,
Pete.
I sent this to some of our engineers this morning, not the actual keyboard, but the link to the keyboard, and they're like, oh, that's amazing. What are we thinking here, Kristen? How much is this thing?
The thing I'm struggling with is I actually really enjoy, you know how you get in those like YouTube rabbit holes?
Of course.
One of mine is like keyboards, but on TikTok.
What? What?
What's so hard for me is I never understand the basis for why some are more expensive than others, because they can be like $1,000 or more dollars. So I feel like the aluminum is kind of throwing me off, or whatever the metal was. This keyboard is $275.
Are you kidding? That's exactly what I was going to say. 276.
I'm stuck on the Kristen's on keyboard TikTok.
Yeah.
Kristen,
Makes me feel much better about my cow hoof trimming
Ew.
thing I was on there for a while.
what's weirder? Okay, so like a Dame's cow hoof trimming, which can be disgusting because I've seen it. My Indian street head massage things, or Kristen's keyboard TikTok. What's the weirdest thing?
The head massages.
Nah, keyboards.
Keyboard TikTok. Dame, what do you think? Oh, you've guessed.
Keyboard. Oh yeah, I was gonna say 270, but in the spirit of the game, I'll up that and say 365.
$650. Dame, what's in the news this week?
Fresh from the IBJ newsroom, sales of previously occupied U.S. homes slowed in March, a sluggish start to the spring home buying season as elevated mortgage rates and rising prices discouraged prospective home shoppers. Existing home sales fell 5.9% last month from February to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.02 million units, the National Association of Realtors said this week. The March sales decline is the largest monthly drop since November of 2022, when sales fell 6.7% from the previous month. Sales fell 2.4% compared with March of last year, and the latest home sales fell short of the 4.12 million pace economists were expecting. Locally, things aren't necessarily any better. They were down around 2.2% in central Indiana.
Kristen, as the only person to buy a house this month on the show,
Right.
and possibly in the state of Indiana, why do you think homes have slowed down? Do you think it's interest rates? Do you think it's concerns about the economy? Why do you think?
I think it's interest rates. I think it's several factors. The threat of the return of student loan payments. I think that it's continued access to buy now, pay later, and potentially threats of including those types of things on our credit. I think it's the increase in the interest rate environment for like variable rates, like your credit cards. I think it's squeezing people out of the home buying market. And that's why we're seeing a decrease, is like people are kind of being forced out of the price points that they thought that they wanted. So they're just stepping out of the game.
Dame, do you anything to add to that?
Not really. I think it's just a bunch of economic uncertainty that people are dealing with, and they're waiting to see where things shake out before they want to commit to a 15 or 30 year obligation.
You know what I keep thinking about? Of like, I could argue seriously and mean it that you should buy a house right now, and I could also argue that you shouldn't buy a house right now. And I don't know which one's actually right. Like, if you believe that however long the tariffs take, there's gonna be supply chain disruption in material increases in terms of expense. So whether you're buying a new home or building a new home, I should say, or buying a used home that has to be repaired to some degree, and then you're subject to those materials, you could argue that even though interest rates are high right now, when those shake out, if those shake out, the timing of how the supply chain gets thrown out of whack would actually be worse than the high interest rates. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I just like you could probably make I think you could probably make a more logical argument to not buy a house right now, but yeah, there's an argument too as well.
I saw something about the supply chain disruption this week, and I want to run it by you. I read this. Don't know if it's I don't know if I buy it, but I think I might. It said, okay, so it takes a container 30 days to get from China shipped to LA.
Okay.
A 30-day sea voyage, which was oddly enough the name of a garage band I was in middle school. And then it takes 45 days for that. I don't know what to call things. Freight. I mean, I don't know. Freight to get to Chicago or New York. 45 to Chicago, and then, or whatever, to New York. So we won't actually see the impact of the initial tariff blast until like the second week of May in LA, when there's fewer cargo ships coming in, therefore fewer trucks leaving. And then it'll kind of go across the country as those supplies and things get delivered west heading east. And then the real impact on like New York would be like 60 days past that. And so the argument is you would see a wave of supply demand issues going across the United States over a series of days and weeks. And I was like, I kind of get that. Dame, does that track with your brain, or is it just Friday and mine's fried?
I mean, maybe, but I'm not gonna say that manufacturers are going to be quite that gratuitous, and I think they'll start bumping up their costs or their prices as soon as they start feeling the impact of the cost, whether or not those actual products that have the tariffs on them are in our stores to be bought or not.
Yeah, Kristen, does that thing start to make sense or not really?
I mean, as you're talking, does it feel like maybe it makes sense? Yes. But at the same time, I'm thinking this feels kind of archaic. And to Dame's point, why aren't I would just expect manufacturers, retailers, whatever, along the way to just be increasing the rates like immediately. They're not like waiting for the New York impact versus the LA impact.
Yeah, right. I may read a couple stories in the last week about shop owners. What year is this? Shop owners, local shop owner, just increasing prices because they've got a built-in excuse to do it. And I'm not blaming them for that because they're going to take a lump sometime sooner rather than later. Yeah, I guess maybe the best way I wanted to say this is I wonder when the true pass-through economics of all this starts to really happen. I think that's what I'm trying to measure, the actual, not fear, but the dollars and cents of it all. So did we just do one news story in this segment?
Do we do two? Nobody knows.
We did it. We had a show. All right, everybody. Well, this was fun. Kristen, thanks for being here. Glad you're back from becoming a homeowner. Damian Dunn, thank you as always for your contributions. And for all of you, thanks for listening. Sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the Pete the Planner Show. We did the real estate story. And did we do a second one?
The ship.
I did the ship.
Oh, we did real estate. That was it. We did one story.
Wow. Great work on the prep for the news this week.
Damn, I'm sure that felt good.
Yeah, it was all right. And to be fair, there weren't a lot of great news stories this week it was tariff stuff and just nothing that was going to be really exciting to talk about.
Dean, was it last week you and I were talking, or was it 2 weeks ago? We were talking because you and I, it's just been you and me for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
We were talking on the show about the president stopping money from going to the universities. And I simply made the point. I can't believe that much money goes to universities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not saying it's good or bad. I'm just like, man, who knew? Like, who knew?
Yeah.
That Harvard got $200 billion, whatever, right? Not as good, not as bad. Just like, wow. The comments don't like that. The commenters
Really?
don't like that. I feel like that's a statement of isolation of it's an isolated statement. It's like, man, I didn't know that. It's not that that's good or that's bad. It's just like, I literally didn't know that.
And they didn't like that you pointed it out, or that they felt you were coming down on one side that they disagreed with?
I couldn't tell. I tried to engage a little bit, but I got confused as to what, because I'm willing to try to understand what's going on, but I was just like, I don't know. But then what I didn't say on the show, but it's like, if you've got a $500 billion or whatever endowment or whatever $50 billion endowment that Harvard has. And again, I'm not saying that their funds should be frozen from the federal government. I'm not weighing in on that. It's more of that's a huge endowment. It's one of the biggest pieces of money in the world. So it's wild they get that much federal support.
Yeah, endowments, you see these huge numbers, but oftentimes they're directed giving and they can only be used on very specific things. So if you see, a $500 billion endowment, there may only be, 10% of that, which is still a very large number. Don't get me wrong. But it's not it's just not a free for all that they can go in and take a shovel to a big pile of cash and say, oh, here we got what we need. Close it up.
Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him.
I agree.
All right, everybody. That's it. Kristen, have a good weekend. D70's your house. Is that what we'd say?
Yeah, sanding floors. I've never done that, but good.
How hard could it be?
How hard could it be?
Dame, good luck with Dad.
Thanks. Gonna have a good dad weekend this weekend, I think.
Not doing anything. All right, everybody. Stay getting money.